thank you so much for being on. And just to kind of hit the call off, I love to have a new person on each and every week that we really haven't had a chance to hear from. And I chose Letticia because she was somebody who truly resonated with me from the jump. Like when I got started at Family First Life, I was like, okay, like I mess with that girl because she works hard, she gets it done. So we're definitely, if you're asking yourself, hey, am I on the right call, to dive in and implement something new? I can tell you right now, you definitely are. So I don't want to take away Letticia's shine, but, highest personal production month, over 60 families helped in that month, which is absolutely amazing. But without further ado, Letticia, thank you so much for being on with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you guys for having me on. I was very surprised when I got the message from you, Marissa. I was like, okay, I know her. I saw you in New Jersey training. That was the first time I actually saw you in person, but I've seen you on other trainings. So I was like, okay, cool. I know who she is. And I met your sister, I think a couple weeks ago in Texas. So I was like, okay, cool. So yeah, I'm really happy to be on you guys' call and to share and give back whatever I can.
Awesome. Well, we truly appreciate that. And yeah, Letticia, when we met face to face in Jersey, you definitely made a big impact on me. So we'll definitely hit on that too. But just to kind of intro the call, if you don't mind, just a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, where you live, and kind of what got you started with FFL and why.
Yeah, so who I am, I'm Jamaican. If nobody knows, because I sing that like every day on every training. But yeah, so I'm from Jamaica. Been in the States over 10 years now. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Before coming to FFL, I actually worked at another practice company for a little while, not very long. But before that, I was working at a call center. So just a regular call center job, working hourly wage. And, while I was at that call center job, I was thinking of another career path to venture into. And that's when I found life insurance. I decided to go with one other company before I came here to FFL. But after finding FFL, this has been it for me since then. So I'm just super grateful for the opportunity that we have here.
Absolutely. And I love how you brought up, the essence of you started with another company in the industry, and then you kind of came over to Family First Life. Just to kind of really quickly piggyback off of that, what do you think pushed you to FFL from your practice company?
The comp.
At that time, it was the comp, flat like that.
Definitely, 110%. I was one of the top producers at the other company, but I didn't see where that was translating into an income, like the deposits. I was just getting a lot of accolades, right? Trophies, but not getting any return, like income wise. Like I still was like struggling to make ends meet, right? So when I found out that FFL, I was able to make double the compensation that I was making there. It was a no-brainer to start here.
Absolutely. And that's just like hitting it right on the head. It's like, if you can work at McDonald's here, but this one pays double, you're probably going to go here. But thankfully, we're not at McDonald's, Letticia. So that's the good news. And, writing at, such a high volume and helping so many families, if you could take yourself all the way back to, your first week or month, at Family First Life, what's something that you feel like you could have done maybe a little bit differently, or you wish you did do or didn't do?
So when I first started, we weren't, what's the word? So I wasn't focused on the numbers like I am today. So I was just going through the motions. If I got an appointment here or there, or, spread out or whatever, what I could get, I would get, what I could run, I could run. So I wasn't focused on being intentional and setting up a full day's schedule for full day's work. So if I could go back and be intentional right off the gate and making sure that I have my schedule, a full day of appointments. And when I say a full day of appointments, I'm talking about between 8 to 10 appointments per day. So if I could go back then and started doing that earlier, I would have reached the milestones that I met earlier in my business rather than later.
I love that. I think that that's really what this all comes down to. Goes back to it's simple, but it's not easy because it's intentionality. But intentionality will breed those habits, right? Of booking those 8 to 10 appointments versus kind of being scattered and feeling like you're working 24/7, but it's just because you're working 7 days a week and you're working 3 hours each day, right? So with that being said, Letticia, you spoke at that meeting in New Jersey, and I remember you were speaking, I don't remember exactly what the topic was, but I believe it was, how to be a Hall of Fame producer, habits of a Hall of Fame producer. And sometimes I know that these two things will coincide, Letticia, like whether you want to be helping 10 families or you want to be helping 100 families, you have to have some consistent things in line. And I loved how simple you kept it. Like you broke it down. I don't remember exactly what these like 3, 4, or 5 things were. And you were like, if you can do these things, like you can produce at whatever level you want. And I loved it because it was literally, I remember walking in and being like, that makes sense. Like, and I wasn't brand new. I was a Hall of Fame producer myself, but I was like, she just crushed it. So Letticia, if you don't mind, like if you could hit on those things, if you remember what they were, or just kind of speaking around the intentionality piece of that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I'm like, what did I say? What did I say? But pretty much, guys, what this all boils down to really is getting really good at getting leads, right? Then being intentional when it comes to working those leads, when it comes onto your schedule. So getting good at getting leads, getting good at having a consistent schedule, and then enamoring yourself with trainings, right? If you can get really good at those 3 things, your schedule, your leads, and your trainings, like you literally will become, I'm trying to find another word, not invincible, but it will become predictable. Like you can start predicting how much money you can make doing this, right? Because I've been doing this for so long, and Marissa can attest to this as well. Like we know how many appointments it takes in a week, how many states it takes, how many families we need to help in order to consistently write 10K each week, right? Because we are so intentional with those 3 things. We make sure that we have our leads 100% of the time. We gotta make sure that we have our leads on auto drafts, right? So that if you have, say, mortgage with the BPL with Sasha, with Sasha, right? Or if you have, happy agents, lead concepts, the internet, like whatever, like you have your source, and that's your source, and that's your consistent source every week. And you know that you're spending a certain amount on that lead every week. So typically, if you're someone that wants to be a Hall of Fame producer, and that's like issuing 10K a week, then you know that you consistently have to spend anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 every week. And that has to be a non-negotiable. Like you have to be like, okay, this is for my leads every week, 1,500 non-negotiable, that's going into my lead account, right? So once you get really good at setting up your account to where that's going out consistently every week, then you have to start being able to work those leads, right? Because you can buy the leads and then just have them there sitting there. But if you don't work them, then you're not going to get the results, right? So once you start getting those leads, then you have to fit a time in your schedule to where you're like, okay, Mondays are my dial days, or Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Thursdays or whoever, whatever, right? But you have to have a time where it's your dial time, it's protected. Nothing is coming in between that time other than money-making activities to get those appointments done, right? So you're sitting and you're dialing those leads typically to get your 15 or 20 appointments on your 2 run days. And then you're just wash, rinse, repeating literally that same activity. So the next dial day, you're sitting down, you're booking your 10 to 15 appointments, 50 to 20 appointments. And then from there, you have your 30 appointments or 40 appointments. Sometimes if you're running a lot of final expense, you're going to need to book more, right? Because you're going to deal with a lot more stuff that happens when you're running more final expense. So the goal is to get closer to that 40 appointment number. And then if you're sitting with at least half of those people, you should at least help half of those people. So if you're booking 40, you're sitting with 20, the goal is at least to write 10. And that's going to give you your 10K consistently every week. And as we all know, if we're sitting with more people that need mortgage protection, then our premiums are higher. So we need to maybe sit with 6 or 7 of those people to get our 10 policies, to get our 10K every week, right? So you get good at your leads, get good at your schedule, and then getting really, really good at enamorating yourself with just trainings. I know for me personally, every morning I have to watch some type of training, or I have to train myself or personally develop myself or something. It has to be, or else my day won't go, well, right? It's like I'm so used to it that if I'm like, oh, I didn't wake up and I didn't meditate, or if I didn't wake up and I didn't do something, like it's just off, right? So so I'm getting up and I'm making sure that I'm doing some type of training, whether that be, a training from a TNL or inside a sale, or it's something mentally to keep my mindset ready for the day, to keep a positive mindset, some type of personal development. So I'm doing that first thing in the morning. And then if I need to throughout the day, I'm doing that as well. But typically I don't train throughout my appointments because I am I'm speaking to people or interviewing agents, right? So I tend to normally just train during the day. But if you're someone that needs to train during your appointments, do so. I remember when I first started, I was listening from appointment to appointment to appointment, Mark Mead telling me how to close a sale, like things like that I just wasn't good at. And I was like, okay, who do I need to talk? Who do I need to listen to? And I'm like, okay, listen to Mark, listen to this person, that person, right? I have an agent that she's like, I go to bed with Paul McKinley. I'm like, what are you talking about? But she's saying that she does that because she listens to him on her headset and she literally falls asleep, with him in her head, right? But you kind of have to get that crazy, guys. You gotta get that intentional and get that, just immerse yourself in trainings, to be able to then be able to say the same things and do the same things and have the same results as top producers. And it will just be like natural, like somebody just switch on a switch and you're just talking like Matt Smith in a house or something. Like it gets really crazy. You just start trial closing all of a sudden. You're like, whoa, where did that come from? Because I've been listening so much to Matt Smith, right? It just comes out naturally when you're with clients. So if you get really good at those 3 things, you definitely will become really, really, really great at this.
And Letticia, I love how you unpack that in such a way that you made it so simple, but you're saying like, hey, it's on you, right? Like it's on you to go ahead and automate your leads, whatever that means for your particular lead order. It's on, you to make sure that you're actually tracking your activity so that these things are predictable, right? It's on you to have non-negotiables that are built into your schedule. All of that stuff is on you as the agent. It's on me, it's on you, Letticia, it's on everybody on this call. And then in terms of training, only we are going to typically know what we need. If you're going into a home and you're getting, I have to think about it every single home, okay, you gotta listen to some training about I have to think about it, right? Exactly. So like you said, like it just becomes predictable. Like you said, if you set this amount of appointments, you sit with this many, you're gonna close and help this many families, and that's what it's going to look like. And it's not that deep. And once we know our numbers, whether you want to be hitting Hall of Fame or you want to be helping, 15 or 20 or 25 families a month, it's still going to be a similar system. It's about scaling it, right? So that's why, Letticia, I love how you break that down, because it's like, this goes for Hall of Fame producers. You want to hit that? Yes, you have to be extremely intentional. like Letticia said, like intentionality is key. However, at the same time, if you're trying to do it on a lower scale or you're doing it part-time, you have to be just as intentional, but in a different way. So I love how you broke that down, and money-making activities. You also hit on that, Letticia. Like a money-making activity is not sitting in the CVS parking lot talking to your friend about how you just got milkshake. Like that's not going to make you money, right?
Yeah.
But like Letticia said, whether you're, helping, a new agent get started, you're talking to a potential new agent, or you're listening to a training, whatever that means at that point in time, in terms of you're dialing the phone in between, you're doing door knocks, like Letticia said, next thing you know, you'll be in the house doing trial closes, sounding like literally exactly what you just heard on the training. And that, like, Letticia, have you had moments that you're literally in a home and you're like, I just heard that, but I just said it, I didn't even realize?
Right. Like, I'm sounding just like Matt Smith. I'm sounding just like Mark Mead. I'm just like, whoa, where did that, like Paul McLean, I'm like, where did that come from? Like, you don't
Exactly.
even know it's happening until you said it. And you're like, that just come out of my mouth.
Exactly. And it's like I was gonna, go over kind of like what do you think makes you consistently stay at these, high numbers? And Letticia, I think it speaks for itself when it's okay, you just made it that simple. Leads, automate them, schedule, make sure you know what your schedule is. That's on you, whether you're self-employed or employed. And then training, what do you need? What does that mean to you? Right. So it's like you
Mhm.
can stick on those three pillars and not overcomplicate it. Doesn't have to be that deep. And activity,
Exactly.
like you said, Letticia, you can buy all the leads in the CRM in the world rather, but if you don't dial them, nothing's going to happen. So that activity, driving that home. Um, so with kind of your in-home process, obviously you do great in home at this point in time, right? What
Mhm.
would you say is a crucial thing that or what part of your in-home process do you feel is most important?
I think setting the stage right off the jump. So letting them know what who you are and what you're going to do, and then actually follow suit with that. I think a lot of us, myself included, when I first started, I was nervous, like everybody is when you just first get started, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, is this person, this family? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do, right? And then you will say what you need to do, but then you stop and you won't do it, right? You tell the client, oh yeah, I'm here and we're gonna put in the application, blah 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 blah, and then you're there at the end, like letting them run the show, right? So what I had to do was to get better at setting the stage and then follow suit follow suit what we're gonna do. So I would of course let them know that hey, this is, I'm Letticia. I always, make sure that they see a copy of my license because I want to make sure that they know that I'm a reputable agent in the state of Georgia. And so what we're going to do here today is that I'm a broker, and because I'm a broker, I work for all these different insurance companies. I'm going to shop all of these companies, and then I'm going to find you the best one that's going to be best suited for you. And then once we find a company that's going to be best suited for you, we are going to submit an application to the carrier. And then the carrier is the one that's ultimately going to get back to us and let us know if you're going to be approved or not approved for coverage, because not everyone is able to get approved for these type of policies. Does that make sense? And typically they're nodding their head and they're agreeing with me throughout the process. So after, I collected all their information when it comes onto the client worksheet, and everyone should, it doesn't matter if you're a Hall of Fame producer, you're just starting, it doesn't matter. All of us should still use a client worksheet to gather the information from the client, right? And so after I've completed that, and I'm now going to go into my close, and I'm showing my clients, my three options. Typically, I show them three options and then have them choose from those three options, which one would be best suited for you based on your budget right now, right? And if they're kind of going in between one or two and they can't really make up their mind or whatever, I normally say, okay, so which one are you going, like, which two are you going in between? Like, which one do you think? And, they'll be like, well, we may want to cover the whole mortgage, but financially we probably can't afford that one. Okay, that's fine, because you can actually, with this policy, you can start off with the lower option. And then once your budget is a little bit better, you can then move on to the higher option, right? And that typically lets people know that you're on their side. They don't feel that pressure, like you're pressuring them to get a huge policy, right? Like, who's going to talk you down from getting, a big policy, right? Not many people, right? So once they feel like, you're there and you're there to help them, then they want to move forward. And then I'm going to be like, okay, so what we're going to do next, what we're going to do, right? I wasn't doing that at the end. I was just like sitting there waiting to see what they were going to decide on, right? I had to take control and lead the client and let them know, this is what we are going to be doing next. Okay, so what we're going to be doing next is that we're going to be submitting an application into the carriers. So I'm going to need a copy of your driver's license and a voided check so that we can get started and submit the application so that we can get a decision.
Love it. And like, I love how you said not only set the stage, Letticia, but follow suit, right? Like, you can set the stage all day long, but if you're like, you know what, Joe, that's fine, think about it, and here's my card, you're not helping anybody, right? And you're also not doing what you said you were going to do, right? So I also had that same, issue, so to say, coming in. And I think that most agents do. But what always gave me a peace of mind too, Letticia, is, it's the only consistent thing we can say in the home, right? Like, every home's going to be a little bit different. We can ask certain questions. Yeah, but it's the only thing that we can say to set up to make sure that the client knows who we are. And like you said, what we are going to do, like, not what you're going to do, but what we're going to do. So I love that. And then the client worksheet, financial inventory, whatever we want to refer to that as, it's so, so important. Like Letticia said, like, I don't care if you've been here, like, if like Sean Mike would use the client worksheet, like, so like, make sure you're definitely using that. And then also at the close, Letticia, you talked about how you probably don't typically just like start hitting that off the rip, like the whole, which options are you looking between? But if they're almost like kind of seem on the fence, or like thinking, kind of looking at you, like, for how you're talking about, we don't even know if you qualify yet. Let's get you at the lower choice. We can always increase, because that's the dead honest truth. And for me, Letticia, I would rather go into a home and give a family, half of what they were looking for, but know that they can afford it and it's going to be there, versus they're going to be able to afford it for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and then they have no coverage at all and they never apply again. So it's like, I love what you said about being able to take that, like, empower them. You don't become the salesperson at that point. Like you said, you're walking them through what we're going to do next, the next step. Okay, this is what's next, right? So the whole entire time using transitional phrases, but also using we statements, because it is a we process, right? So I love that, kind of being able to say, hey, let's put you in option, C. You can always go to option A if you'd like to, but let's at least make sure we can get you, the bare bones minimum. So if something happens tomorrow, it's in place. Versus upselling, because now you're the salesperson and nobody likes you, right? Have you ever done that in a home, Letticia? Like, you try, like, you became the salesperson, and then after you were like, oh gosh, like, I don't like you. Like,
I've never really been salesy. I don't think of myself as salesy, so I don't think that's been my per se, because I'm not sales. I try to be I try to let it be as a smooth as a process as possible. If I find that there's too much friction, or they're not sure, or they're not going to move forward, I'm really not pressing it, because it's normally results in a chargeback.
Correct. Right? Exactly. And I love that's, another thing. It's okay, we can keep the policy on the books that's going to be comfortable in the budget. Right. Why would we keep it off, and then get a charge back and have to deal with all that? So upselling your clients, like, that's not good. Like, don't do that. put them
Mhm.
somewhere they're comfortable. So thanks for bringing that up to Letticia in regards to chargebacks, because that's usually where they come from, is when we
Mhm.
are upselling a client, look at their budget, look at how much they're making. Does it actually
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah,
Um,
and I normally reiterate, like if I'm, helping a client and they're like, okay, this one, they just choose one of the higher one out of the rip. I don't downsell them, but I'm like, are you sure? Like,
right.
are you certainly sure that you can afford this? We can do, because like I said, I want to make sure that it's comfortable for them. We don't want to put them in a position where it's a bind, where they are gonna call you like a month later, like, hey, I have to repair this, and this gonna have to take a back seat. Like, who wants to go through that? No one.
Exactly, because then you're both back at square one. So I love that. And it's really important to be able to just take a step back and ask questions. Like Letticia said, hey, are we sure we want to go with that one? Like, I'll always like say something silly. I'll be like, Letticia, you sure you want to go with that one? Like if you wake up and, all four of your tires are slashed, that's still going to fit your budget. Because like you're saying, if they wake up to whatever, we all have fill in the blank, we want to know that this is going to be above the Comcast bill, that this is going to be above fill in the blank bill, and that they can sustain it even if an emergency does come up. So thank you so much for hitting on that, because the chargeback piece, if you want to avoid them, this is exactly how you do it. You do good business and you conversate with your clients. But in this business, there can be a lot of adversity, whether it's personal adversity, business adversity, you name it, we all have them.
Yep.
Um, what's the biggest adversity, you've had to overcome since being with FFL, and kind of what did that look like, if you don't mind sharing?
I think with starting a new career, with anything in life, I think my biggest adversity was knowing that I could do it, because when I first started here, there weren't many people like myself doing what I was doing at the level that I was doing it. So I had to be like, okay, like you can do it. I had to self talk to myself a lot, do a lot of self development to prepare myself for that. So, and then, whenever you have situations where you have, people doubting you, or, you just have just haters, you pretty much are like, okay, focus your energy into, what is that saying? You starve your distractions, right? And just focus your energy into, what's going to help you. Haters are going to be haters, right? Exactly right, Valerie. Right? So you focus your energy into what is going to sustain you and what is going to keep you going, and the people, right, which is so very important, the people that are positive in your life, and the people that are going to help you to propel in whatever you decide to aspire to in life, right? And then the ones that aren't, you just, you delete them, or you just, you just don't focus your energy there. So I think for me, I just had to just focus on, myself, my growth, what I wanted to accomplish in this business. I knew from the get-go that I wanted to be a Hall of Fame producer, because that was kind of like the pinnacle of producers here at FFL. I didn't know how I was going to achieve it, but I heard other people saying that they did. And so I believed that I could as well. Right. And so I went out there and I did it. So I think more so just learning how to delete the distractions and focus on the positive things that are going to happen in your life. And I think that's a lot of everyday people. I think a lot of people, when they start here, especially peers, people within their peers, they listen to the negativity between each other. Like, oh, I didn't book this appointment. Oh, I got no showed. Oh, this, that, and the third happens. And in this business, guys, you can literally go from having $0 in your account to having six figures in your account. Like, it can literally happen, but it doesn't happen by you focusing on the aspects of this business that aren't favorable, right? Everybody's going to have no shows. Everybody's going to have no sales. Everybody's going to have weeks where they don't help any families. Everybody's going to have personal things that come up in their lives. None of us is immune to any of those things. We're all going to have those things in our lives. It's just how we decide to handle those things and keep it moving, right? Will determine those of us that are winners and those of us that allow those things to distract us and derail us from where what we're trying to achieve, right? So having that mindset that I am going to focus on my goals and just focus on building what I came here to build and to do what I need to do, was, I think, one of the challenges that I had to overcome to get to where I was.
Absolutely. And that's huge. I like how you started with knowing that you can do it, right? Because it's like, you know, I might know that you can do it, right? Before, I might be like, Letticia, you got this, right? Dom might be like, Letticia, you got this. But if you have in your heart, don't believe that you can do it at all,
Mhm.
it's gonna reflect exactly that way. And it's unfortunate. So like you said, Letticia, sometimes we have to, whether that's limit or eliminating, certain people, making sure we're reflecting on the positive things. I love how you hit on that because it is day to day. Like every single day, we all get a decision to have a good day or a bad day, right? Like, but that's up to us. Are we going to focus on the positive or the negative? We do have that choice. Even if we have to face the negative, we don't have to stay there. We just face it, we move on, and we are thankful for what we have. So I love how you're talking about your mindset, because if you don't have a positive mindset or a I can mindset or a why can't I type of mindset, like you're saying, Letticia, I saw people hitting Hall of Fame. I thought, why couldn't I do it? Right. And so you did. So, and you did it because of many reasons that I can't name all right now. However, but you are focused on your goals. You are goal oriented. You said nothing's going to get in the way or stop me from what I'm trying to accomplish. And when you do that, I truly think that anyone is unstoppable in this industry, as that's really what it takes, is being able to focus on a goal and saying, whatever's going to get in the way, I need to, tunnel vision, kind of move it out of the way right now and maneuver around it and focus on the positivity, because this business can truly change your life. I know it has for me. So thanks so much for sharing that. And Letticia, kind of going right off of that, how has FFL impacted your life, the life of your family?
Amazing. Yeah, like I said, right? You can go from zero, which I, before FFL, like I was saying, I was at another company and I was struggling to pay my rent at the time because I lived in an apartment. Just to go into the grocery store and just like hoping and praying that my card would go through so I could get groceries, right? So I could feed myself. Like, I don't have those struggles anymore. Like, at no point in time am I ever wondering if I can afford something. And that is just an amazing, amazing feeling. I literally just bought a house the other day, and I could have bought it a couple of years ago, but I wanted to make sure that what I got was really what I wanted, right?
Congratulations, I have to interject.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And so it's just been, blessings on top of blessings. My mom is now here from Jamaica. I brought her over. She stayed with me. She doesn't really have to work, but she does a part-time job just because she needs to get out of the house. But just being able to, and if I even didn't have all of the things that I have, just to be able to have my mom here and be able to be in a situation where I can help my parents and help my family back home is just an amazing, amazing feeling, right? So that in itself alone is, a tremendous blessing in my life. So I'm just so grateful. I really am truly grateful for this opportunity. And like I said, anyone, it literally does not matter who you are, where you come from, what your background is. If you literally put your mind to achieving whatever it is that you set out to achieve here, you can do it. But it does take work, right, Marissa? It does take a lot of hard work, but
it does.
The most rewarding thing is knowing that you worked so hard for it and you're achieving it. right?
And,
So
and that's what makes anything worth it, whether that's, like you said, going to the grocery store and not having to worry, like it's a little thing to all the way to mom being here. And that's such an amazing story. I almost just started crying while you were telling, because the way that Family First Life, like just this platform that we all have the same opportunity, no matter who you are, where you came from, it's the same exact opportunity. All you have to do is decide how much work are you going to put in. And Letticia, you decided you were going to get to damn work. And that's what you did. You got to work and you got it done. And that's what's going to be the outlier, is the person who's willing to go through the struggles, the person who's willing to pick themselves back up after they had a, not the best dial day, or not the best day in the field, or not the best week or month. That's why we don't want to measure this off of one day, 1 week, 1 month. It's like, it's a business. We got to look out for the long term of it. And really just hearing about, I remember just the other day, Letticia, I was in the grocery store and I was like in a rush, and I was with my boyfriend, who's also in the business. And I had said, and he was like, do you want like mangoes, or he asked me something about like an organic mango, and like, I don't care if it's organic or not. I'll do respect to everybody on this call, but it's just that's not my thing. I don't really care. And I was like, just get whatever you want. And I was like grabbing something else. So I kind of not shouted it, but I was loud. And after I said it out loud, I reflected in my head, and I went up to my boyfriend and I was like, Rami, like, I'm so thankful that I was able to say that. But at the same time, I'm so hurt that I said it out loud, because I've been on the other side of that coin, where it's like, not get whatever you want. It's get what you need, and hopefully it's gonna go through. Right. So like that small, like that gratefulness, like it will never go away. Like Letticia, I literally almost cried in Stop and Shop the other day. Okay. It's because I'm grateful for these little things. But then also, like you said, it's not just about the money. That's not what it's about. What is the impact we're actually making? Like, it's way bigger than that. And I love that you're able to do so much for your family. You have a growing team. You're amazing to be around. Any training that you've ever done, that I've ever had the chance to be in front of or watch, it adds so much value. So Letticia, thank you for sharing.